Phoenix Fire 108 gave $5. Enoch, thanks for mentioning that these leftists aren't snowflakes on TRS. This is a serious underestimation of our foe. Please continue to point this out. I just want to echo that. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in on that, but I think often people on the right they tend to underestimate these leftists. But these leftists have only got into the position they have because they are absolutely dedicated and absolutely committed to the cause. Now, I've been involved in this, and I always say this every year, but now it's 19 years. I've been in this for 19 years, and that's a long time. But in my time, I have seen thousands, if not tens of thousands of people come into the movement, dedicate themselves to it, and then disappear. Now, the left aren't like that. The left managed to carry out the long march through the institutions. They managed to carry on for 10, 15 years until they infested every strata of our society, the educational system, the police departments, local government. Whereas our people, they come into the movement and they last 12, 16, maybe 20 months before they're bored and they go back to watching the football and drinking a beer on the sofa and cutting themselves off from the problem. Never underestimate two things about the left. The first is their dedication to what they are pushing. And the second thing you should never underestimate about them is their hatred for us, for Western civilization, and for those of European descent. But is there anyone who wants to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the point that I did a bit on the show a few weeks ago about again how conservatives generally speak, a lot of times older, like boomer conservatives, will underestimate the college SJW as an archetype, right? Like the blue-haired feminist chick or the frizzy-haired perpetually offended mulatto girl or something like that, right? And my point was, like, these people are, well, they might be offended. They're glad to be offended. Their offense means that they can now dictate power. They can now tell people what to do. They can begin a witch hunt. They can begin a struggle session, an inquisition. They can attack people, and they can gain power. They're not just like these, easily triggered special. That's like a boomer meme that is meant to dismiss the problem. Like, oh, these kids, they need a dose of reality. Somebody should have spanked them when they were kids. That way they wake up to you're going to get out in the real world and you're going to be offended. It's like, no, they're going to get out in the real world and they're going to do exactly the same things that they do in college. And it's starting now, which is you're now going to get people fired from their real jobs for the same kinds of bullshit, that they get in trouble for on a college campus by these same people. These people are not going to get a dose of reality. The dose of reality is going to be a promotion to head of HR. That's the dose of reality they're going to get. So don't think that they're these powerless little snowflakes that are just, they're going to be, they're going to be crushed by the world. No, they're going out to crush the world. That's their agenda. And they're going to do it unless you actually take them seriously and stand up to them for real, instead of just pretending like they're weak. And I mean, that's a cope of all copes. Well, you don't have to deal with the fact that these people have power over you. You don't have to admit it. They do. That blue-haired feminist chick at college, she has power over you. What are you going to do about it?
So there's always been these, you could call them professional. I don't know how much money they actually get, but these very dedicated full-time activists on the left. And I can think back to, the Socialist Workers Party in the United States. I'm not sure what the relationship between the American Socialist Workers Party and the Socialist Workers Party in Britain is, that has Tariq Ali. I don't know if they're...
I believe they were Shachtmanite revisionists.
In America, it's an openly Trotskyite party that Bernie Sanders was an elector for in 1980.
It's very Jewish as well, in case that surprises anybody. But Socialist Worker Party of the U.S. was this Jewish Trotskyist party. And I don't know. I used to know all about the Max Shachtman, the betrayals. They had this whole mythology to themselves. But anyway.
Well, what's interesting is they were very involved in two things. 15 years ago or so, they were very involved against the Iraq War, which was a good thing, and that's how I came in contact with them. They were also very involved in electoral politics. They would run candidates, even in places where it was hard to get on the ballot, because they had these dedicated people, these full-time people. I remember going once to a some event at a Socialist Workers Party bookstore. They have the bookstore. I think it's called Pathfinder, and it was on the the Palestinian question. And the presenter was a black guy. And they get these people who are actually they would get these people who are smart. They were college educated, maybe college dropouts, but college educated. And then, one guy had a degree from Georgetown. And then what does he do? He goes and works in a coal mine in order to organize. And, this is a type of thing that they had. They've always had that. But now you're seeing, through the universities, this is more in line with what Mike was talking about, the SJW types. But, they're in the universities. Well, they also get degrees. They're not coming out and working in coal mines anymore to organize workers. They're coming out and, Mike mentioned getting in the HR department. They become diversity officers in corporations. Mm-hmm. And of course, there are diversity positions all the way up to the board of directors. California, a new law that went into effect yesterday, California, by state mandate, a corporation in California has to have a female on the board of directors. You have, vice presidents. Google has a vice president for diversity. So it's not just that there are full-time jobs in the corporate world, but there are full-time executive positions. And then, of course, they're getting into, and they have been into, the admissions offices at universities so they can perpetuate themselves. So we definitely have to take them seriously.
And what these people are, now, every corporation has a diversity statement, and they have not just HR officers, but then they have a literal, that's a title, that's a job title, diversity officer. Mm-hmm. That is like in the Soviet Union, any organization, any company had a commissar, had a political officer. There's a political, like I remember in Hunt for Red October, right? They have the sub, they have the officers and the the sailors on the sub. They have the political officer. He's there from the Kremlin to make sure everyone's politics are correct on the ship. He's the ideologue who's overlooking to make sure no one says anything wrong. That's the diversity officer. That's what they are. They are corporate commissars. They are neoliberal global homo commissars to overlook, to make sure everybody's on board with the agenda. And that is what these people in these colleges, these blue-haired feminists and these perpetually offended chicks, that's what they go on to become. And that's how they get their revenge on the evil white males. Because, evil white males are still somewhat in business and doing things in the real, trying to go out there and work and accomplish things, start businesses, do, productive labor and such. And they're going to be the overseers. And that's real power that they're exercising. They have the ability to do this. Now, as far as the involvement of the Socialist Worker Party, they're kind of like this, this sectarian Marxist thing that they went way too ideological along one path. They're not getting with the program. These people aren't even anti-capitalism anymore. They have decided they're going to integrate the neoliberal aspect of capitalism into their worldview. The issue is capitalism, the private property aspects of it that libertarians emphasize, like this is my, or the private property ideology that libertarians emphasize as the root of capitalism. They're abandoning that, and they're like, capitalism is our tool now. We're going to now use monopoly capitalism to enforce ideology. And that was something that libertarians never foresaw, or they're intellectually unequipped to deal with it because they always think private company is good. It's like, well, these companies are not exactly, these are monopolistic companies that are enforcing, a ideology that is the state ideology, the ideology of the cultural, political elites, etc. So it's not like, but this critique of capitalism that these sectarian Marxists do, I mean, they've abandoned that. They don't care about that anymore. The big money power is for them now. It's behind them. So they've abandoned that. Now it's just all cultural power. Which is why we
sorry, go ahead and finish, Mike.
I was going to say why we use the term cultural Marxism, but yeah.